So much time. Please be seated. Please. Okay, we were supposed to have a public hearing at 7:15, so let me call the public meeting officially to order, and I'm shown at 7:23, and have a roll call, please.
Ms. Darrow.
Here?
Mr. Engel.
Here.
Ms. Hannikin.
Here.
Mr. Mulner.
Here.
Ms. Tully.
All right, the subject of the hearing this evening is ordinance number 82-2014. Mrs. Arcisi, would you like to read that at least so people in the audience know?
Certainly. It's an ordinance amending codified ordinance section 1171-15B to allow a storage barn as a non-residential in a residential district. I believe I'm missing a word. A non-residential use in a residential district.
All right, the floor is open for discussion. We ask you, if you do want to speak to this matter, please come to the front. We have a microphone at the front. State your name and address. Is there anyone that would like to address ordinance number 82-2014?
Yes. I signed up for that.
Okay, with this one, yeah,
It's about the property, right?
yeah, this is about the property, but the sign-in sheet is for public comments, but
Okay,
this is in direct use of that, so you can speak. It's fine. I'm sorry, we didn't look at that sheet yet because that's for later, so
All right.
you're good.
I came because I thought tonight they were going to decide if this was illegal to keep the barn on the property or not. And then I heard it's already been settled.
No, it hasn't.
Okay.
It was conditionally settled, but the conditions of the settlement were not met.
Well, I think the property should have a house on it. And if not, my cousin is looking to buy a lot in one of the housing developments. And he said, do you think I could put a camper on there while we're building the house? And I said, I'll let you know after council meeting tonight.
All right.
That's,
So basically, you're telling us you're against that happening in residential neighborhoods? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Barb. Yes?
yeah, that's why we have business zones.
Okay. All right. Are there any other people that would like to address this ordinance? Yes, ma'am.
Shirley Koth, 902 Eileen Drive. I just have a question on this. I know what the background is, bringing it forth, but doesn't this address more than just that property? This
Yes.
addresses any use of that?
Yes, ma'am.
So that if I, for instance, had a lot with a house on it, and I decided to buy the vacant lot next door to expand my space, would this mean then, if this didn't pass, that I could not build any structure on that and treat it, say, as a full acre lot? You know what I mean?
Yes,
in other
I
words-
do, but I don't know how to answer that. That's
Well,
a good question.
but that's
What
what
we
I'm-
were talking about is where it would be two different owners on two different lots. That
Two
has
different
been brought
owners
up.
on two different
In other
lots?
words, you had a lot, like you said, lot next to you was vacant. Somebody else bought it and built something there that was an accessory building, not a house. Would you like that?
I think that's different, though, than what we experienced here. This particular incident that brought this up, there was a house there, and the barn was then built. And then
Correct.
it was all legal.
Correct.
And then whatever the thing was with the house that it had to be demolished because of,
It was
You know.
condemned.
it was condemned, I understand that. And what the reasons were behind it becoming condemned, I'm not sure. But I think that puts it into a somewhat different category, because there was already a legal house there, and the barn was built legally. And so, one coming down, I'm not sure, means the other one has to come down also. And I think that's different than if I buy the lot next to me and want to, say, make my acreage into 1 acre, and I want to expand where I want to put some things on not my property. I mean, other than doing a lot merge, which I could do to make it 1 lot, and then I could do it, I mean, I think we're talking a variety of different things here.
Well, in
And
a
then-
way, you're correct. I don't
So
mean
I
to
don't know how
interrupt
you're-
you, but I agree with you.
And
All
the
right,
other-
I did agree with you, in fact, to the point that I went to the BZA and did an appeal on this man's behalf.
Right, I understand that.
And it could have been all over with an inspection. And we were not allowed on the property to inspect it. So now this legislation moving forward, actually, the BZA gave a variance to this instance, and I'm the one that went there to get it for him. So I agree with you.
No, I
You know, the
understand
house,
that, but
the
I-
barn was fine, the house had to come down.
Right. And it's, to me, I see that as kind of a grandfathering type thing. It
Yes.
was legal to begin with, doesn't mean you should be able to put something on another that somebody should be able to buy a piece of vacant lot for the sole purpose of putting a non-residential structure on it in a residential neighborhood. I would say that you should not be able to do that. But then you've got the problem with, I want to buy the lot next door. And how do I handle that? And I know there's a lot of people that have that situation in the city, where they own multiple lots.
Let me have the law director
Okay, and then I have
answer
one other
that.
thing if I remember
Sure.
what it is by then.
You've analyzed it fairly well. If you bought an adjoining lot and you wanted to put, let's say, a shed or a structure
Yeah.
on there, they'd probably make you merge your 2 lots, because you didn't
Okay.
have any intention of building another house there.
Right,
So you would mind merging the lots.
right,
And if someday you wanted to separate them again, they would probably let you, but you'd have to take the barn away, or the shed, or whatever it is that you built on the other lot, because you cannot have a shed under our current codes existing on a single-family lot without a single-family home.
or I could sell it to
So-
somebody that wants to build a single-family home or a
Exactly,
structure now.
exactly. Then
Agree,
you would
to
separate your
complement it.
property. So this ordinance, if it passes, would allow somebody to buy a lot anywhere, maybe the one next door to you, and just put a shed on it, whether they live there or not.
Well, I'm not, okay, so, that's not the way well, I wasn't sure what I understood from this,
Has
to
to
tell
be
you the truth.
adjacent or within the vicinity.
But then the other thing too is, I think that the same, if you do have a lot like this and it does have a structure on it for whatever reason, the lot itself has to be maintained, it has to be, you have to keep it up, as if you still had your house there and so forth. You can't, there has to be some maintenance that goes on with that, and you can't just have the structure there. Because I think what I'm seeing here is I think we just took this one situation, and now it's kind of become exploded into something that it never really was.
Could I just read you what the relevant paragraph, it says, storage facilities, barns, sheds, or others, or similar such structures as standalone structures when accessory to an adjacent or nearby sublot or parcel with a permitted chief main use, the house, and common ownership, or when the chief main building use has been demolished or otherwise removed from the parcel, leaving a non-conforming accessory structure. That's what this is addressing. So it's legalese to say it's a legitimate, it started as a legitimately approved property, and we're not requiring people to demolish the barn because we removed the house.
Okay,
That's what it says.
yeah, I'm okay with
Really
that.
not what it says.
But-
Well, I just read what it says.
Yeah, or
Okay.
nearby lot. If you own a nearby lot, it doesn't mean adjacent. It doesn't mean you had to have a house there before.
Well, if
Anybody
that's,
can go buy a lot, but if they own something nearby.
Use the
We
microphone.
need to modify this ordinance then to allow to correct that.
Yeah, I just don't think the ordinance is clear.
Well,
Okay, all right.
what we
We'll work on
have
it.
to look at here is that there was a situation that developed. And the situation led, and it, like you said, it was explosion. I stepped in and said, okay, this is going a little bit overboard. The BZA at their meeting agreed and voted to give this variance to the gentleman, which would have set a precedent. Right? So now you have a precedent set where you can have a house demolished and something is still left there. If it's in good shape, it
Yeah.
can stay there.
Yeah,
All right? But it was never carried through to fruition because we weren't allowed to inspect. So as of
Okay.
right now, there is no variance on that barn.
okay. Okay. I just think the whole thing's real confusing.
It is.
So-
It was. And I hoped to have it resolved, but I didn't. So I failed.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Are there any other comments? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Mark Farley. I'm on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'd like to just clarify a few things. Mayor, you were correct. If we had approved the variance and had it gone through, it would have set a precedence that we, as the BZA, we would have complied with in further situations down the road. But at the meeting, I want to clear something up just for me personally. Everybody was very diligent, cooperative. It was a good meeting. I wasn't at the original meeting that occurred when this first came up, so I was just involved in the most recent hearing. After some thought, careful thinking, the council allowed the barn to stay. We felt that that set the precedent. We rationed that there was a complaint. That's what stemmed this whole action. We weren't allowed to see the barn. There are many items outside of the barn, which had a few of the BZA members thinking that there was a safety concern. So everybody, and I mean everybody at the meeting, was agreed that we would do an inspection anytime. Now, I have the notes and I can quote some of it, but I don't understand why that inspection didn't go through. What caused the delay on that? Does anybody know?
I do. I gave the owner of the barn some time to comply. He asked for 4 weeks to comply. To me, giving somebody 4 weeks to clean something up is still a win-win.
Right.
At the end of 4 weeks, when we went to inspect, we were denied very forcefully.
And so I would just wonder what happened to the agreement where we could inspect it at any time. We weren't aware of any request for a delay, and our meeting was on July 14th, and it is now August 28th. It's 6 weeks, if my math is correct, but,
Well, I wasn't expecting to be turned down at the end of the month, Mark, really. I thought we could go in there, get this thing done for once and for all, but give a little bit of time for it to be cleaned up, anything that needed to be looked at, as a courtesy to the owner of the barn.
and we wouldn't have any problem with that, but I'm just wondering if the delay has anything to do with the new passage. And would our BZA findings on the 14th of July be under this new resolution? I say this zoning hearing was passed prior to and is.
It was passed prior to. In fact, Mrs. Hannigan testified that she would be bringing this forth if you did not give the variance.
What Mrs. Hannigan said was that she stated she would move forward with her legislation if a rational decision couldn't be made. And Did we have a rational decision that night, Sylvia?
Well, I thought it was rational.
I did too.
But I support this. Mr. Engel is originating and sponsoring this, but.
Okay, so that's
It's-
the other thing, because I see on the thing it says Dave Engel's
Yeah,
the sponsor.
right.
And I didn't know if you, by saying it was your legislation,
No.
I'm just want to know who's
Well,
sponsoring.
I had asked that this be prepared a long time ago, and it sat around in committee or for well over a year. And I understand that it was going to BCA. I felt that no matter what BCA action took place or didn't take place, it needed to be addressed, because I didn't think that if a pre-existing legal structure is on a lot, and if the house is removed, that you necessarily have to remove that structure. You still can't use it for anything, but it still has to comply with all other requirements of residential property. So I view the two as totally independent, and that's my take on it.
Okay. Just one final question to council in general. Barns on vacant lots. They're all gonna try to build oversized, they're all gonna do this, if they're gonna go through BZA, if they want to appeal. I see nothing good for the city of Macedonia out of this. Nothing. And I'd like to hear what brought you to bring the variance, and what good did you think could come out of this?
My opinion is that if a house, if there's a legal bond and it meets all requirements and the house is removed for whatever reason, that doesn't automatically mean that the barn needs to be removed. It still has to meet all requirements for residential property. And that's the intent of the legislation, which I thought had been written that way, and we'll make those corrections. I think it's a waste to then require an absolutely good barn. I'm not saying that you can use it for farming. I'm not saying that you can use it for anything other than the storage that it could be used for before. But to destroy an absolutely good structure because one structure is removed, I think
Right, and we came to that same conclusion,
Right, and that's what this is trying to do.
after
It's-
level heads prevailed in
Yeah,
what we.
I agree,
what
I
we-
agree.
Now, just a personal thing, I don't want anybody to take this personal, but I don't see this situation happening
Very often.
very often at all.
Right.
Agree.
I think your time could be much better spent on other things. This is Mickey Mouse to me, so that's just my opinion, and
Okay.
it's not meant to be offensive, because of what we've already done for the last 6 months. You know, and
Well,
it's,
I don't think it's Mickey Mouse in that sense. I think that it clarifies the zoning code for future reference. That's all it's doing.
You know, if I might, Mark, we have to go back to how all of this started. It started with a complaint by a resident. The city didn't go in and say, oh, we see a barn here, you have to take it down. City never bothered them for years.
8 years.
Until there was a complaint.
But the complaint was not about the barn, it was about the chicken coop. And as Rita was pointing out, Macedonia, Our Lady of Guadalupe, we go to that church, has the same situation. We had a rectory. We tore down the rectory, we didn't tear down the garage. So does that mean we gotta go down and tear the garage down?
we would probably find the same conclusion that we did in this case,
I know. but-
because you have competent people working with you.
But it's not that
I
you're,
agree, but I'm just saying, 5 years from now, maybe 10 years, 20 years from now, we may not have those same competent people like you, Mark. So maybe we need to have it written down.
I don't even see the objection to just clarifying this in the law, because right now, what the legal opinion was, we had to tear it down. And so this is just amending the law, so that's clear that we don't have to.
Well, we're tearing down the chicken coop.
Well, no, we're not tearing down the chicken coop. It was grandfathered. The chicken coop was built in 1934 or something, so it was
So,
grandfathered. You
being
see
a-
what I mean?
Being a public hearing, can I ask Mr. Havlicek why we didn't get the inspection done? He's public. Sir?
This time I have no comment.
Okay, I'm just asking. We tried to do everything we could do. We thought we had a commonsensical outcome on this, so.
And thanks for your cooperation.
Okay,
Right.
thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Are there any other speakers to this issue? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. All right, this meeting is adjourned. We will be proceeding right into our next meeting because it's running so late tonight. I don't have the list, oh, there we go. Thank you. Welcome to the August 28th council meeting. I'm showing it's 8:42 PM. Mrs. Arcisi, will you call the roll?
Ms. Darrow,
Here.
Mr. Engel,
Here.
Ms. Hannigan,
Here.
Mr. Molnar. Here. Ms. Tully.
All right, now this is the time where we say a pledge of allegiance and we have an invocation, but we're going to do something a little bit different tonight. Our council president, Dave Engel, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, but Terry Hudak, a longtime resident, will be saying tonight's invocation. Terry? All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Terry, if you'd like to come up, please.
Our precious Heavenly Father, I humbly come before Thee tonight to ask the blessing upon each and every one here this evening and all of their families. And as you said, dear God, you do unto others as you have them do unto us, and you love one another as I have loved you. And Father God, we only ask the blessings for the people of the residents of Macedonia, for the people of the United States of America, which desperately need you back in their lives. And again, we do thank Thee, dear God, for the Son, Jesus Christ, who died on a cross for each and every one of us. Amen.
Amen. Good job, Terry. All right, next we have the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes, or do I have a motion to accept?
I do have a change to the minutes from June 12th. Looking at line number 267, the indication was that Ms. Darrow and I voted no on resolution number 67, 2014. I did check the tape, and we did vote yes. So that needs to be corrected.
Do I have a motion to pass the minutes?
Do we want to amend, I don't know exactly.
If you want to make a motion to...
Yeah, I would like to go back just to see what my notes,
Okay.
just
So
to
we,
make sure.
we
So
hold
we
off
can
on
leave
it?
that out.
We can hold off on June 12th then? Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah, I would like to just see what my
Okay,
notes are.
all right.
All right, so may I have a motion regarding the minutes of May 22nd and the meeting of July 10th?
Do you know what ordinance it was, Sylvia, by any chance?
What?
What ordinance was
She
it?
did, she gave me the number.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are passed. Financial report. Do I have a motion to accept?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the financial report for July of 2014 as provided by the Finance Director.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we're going to move on to the section of the meeting where we have comments by the public. During the comments by the public, I would ask you, please keep your comments to city business. We don't want to have personality attacks. And please try and limit your comments to 5 minutes because we have a lot on the books tonight and we'll be watching that 5-minute limit. So we're going to start off this evening with Barbara Watson. Hi.
Aye.
My name is Barbara Watson. I live at 9273 Shepherd Road. And I'm here basically to speak about that you're considering legislation to spend $8,000 on the video equipment that records the council meetings. Please pass this legislation. I watch the council meetings all the time. The past several months, the council meetings, two or three of them have not been recorded, and I particularly wanted to watch a couple of those meetings because of the stuff that's been going on. I would really like you to pass this legislation. I think it's important for all of us who can't come to the meetings to see what's going on. Also, a friend of ours and yours, Ed Morris, likes to keep up with what's going on in council, even though he moved away. So I would just say hi, Ed.
Okay.
And then also, at the last council meeting, you voted against ordinance 2719, which would have put the 0.25% income tax on the ballot. I think that you should have let us decide. I think you've taken away our right to vote on that, and I would have liked to have had a chance to vote on that issue. And that's basically all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. All right, next on the list is Alan Seward. I knew that.
Good evening. My name is Alan Seward. I'm the urban forester with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Forestry. I guess I came here to apologize, but let me start from the beginning. Tom Rohde, your city arborist, approached me for some help here a month or so ago. He had mentioned you needed information on how many trees and what the urban forest was costing to manage so that you could make sound financial decisions. And so I was happy to help him. We began by conducting a 5% inventory of your city. My intent was to write a report for you to be able to tell you about the different things that I found and suggestions for the future. Unfortunately, work got in the way for getting the report done. I hope to have that report done in the next couple of weeks, but I wanted to come here and let you know a couple of things we found so far. We're estimating about 3,100 trees line the streets of your community. Those trees, I estimate, have an appraised value. That means if a drunk driver took them all out, he'd have quite a night, but still. They're worth about $100,000, $107,000. But they also provide ecological services. They intercept stormwater, slow rainwater, so your storm sewers don't have to be improved as fast, and they don't have to be cleaned out as fast because the energy of the water isn't carrying as much debris down. They sequester carbon, they reduce air conditioning and heating costs. Those are ecological services, and right now I estimate about $119,000 a year is being provided to the residents of the community. In 10 years, well, there's a lot of other things we looked into and talked about, but I think it's very interesting. So hopefully soon, I apologize for the delay, we'll have a report for you to consider all of these things. And just wanted to come here tonight. Apologize for not having it for you tonight. That was our goal. But if you have any questions or any direction you want in that report, I'd be happy to accommodate.
Alan, when you do this survey, do you look at what type of tree it is?
Yep. Yes, the species, the size, the location, the condition, the management that's needed is all collected on the 5% that we do look at.
One of the most troubling trees on a tree lawn that I'm aware of is a maple. Do we have a bunch of maples on tree lawns? Do we have a large percentage?
No, the big one on your tree lawn is white ash at 26%, hybrid elms are at 19%. Basically, you have 4 species: white ash, hybrid elm, honey locust, and pears, making up 75%.
Great.
A lot of the problems, though, come from a lack of maintenance. They just haven't been limbed up. Almost every tree I looked at needs crown raising so that cars and trucks can pass underneath it, and that's standard maintenance. That'll come out in the report.
He's right.
So,
Great.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I get this all the time. What is going on with Cleveland pears? A lot of residents want Cleveland pears, and that's what they want, that's what they pay for, and they want Cleveland pear.
right.
What's going on with Cleveland pear that we cannot accommodate the residents?
Cleveland pears they're a nice tree when you look at them on a two-dimensional or on a piece of paper. Beautiful fall color, beautiful summer foliage, a nice flower every single year, easy to plant, grows very rapidly, so people really like them a lot. Problem is that they have very weak branch structure, and so they are incredibly high maintenance. I figure the maintenance you would make on a maple tree to prune it up and to train it, double that to triple that cost with a pear. It's very expensive, and so it's also, we're discovering to be highly invasive. It is a Chinese plant, and we're finding it taking over large areas of forest in Ohio. And so it's made the invasive species list in the state of Ohio, and it's not recommended to be planted. But it's very popular. You look at it in a book, you look at pictures of it, and it's gorgeous.
Right.
When you have to live with it is when it becomes the problem. So,
Good stuff.
So if it's not maintained,
yeah.
so if the resident maintains their Cleveland pear, it's not a problem.
Yes, but the majority of the people in this country, nothing against them, don't understand what maintenance of a tree means. The types of things, the specialty that's needed. Certainly everybody can mow the lawn on the tree lawn. That's easy. I've been mowing lawns since I was 12. But training and properly pruning young trees is something that a specialist, an arborist like Tom, has got training to do. And so it's not something that's a common knowledge for the average person, especially with pears. Pears are a very difficult one to train well. You need a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge to prune them and train them well to make them into that valuable tree.
But a resident can actually hire a tree, a tree and lawn care facility and actually
Right.
have it done themselves.
Well, that varies from community to community, and I think that's, Tom suggested that you were trying to make the decision, whether you pass the responsibility to join your homeowner to take care of trees, or whether you group together as a community and have Tom and pay him and his staff to take care of them
Right.
with that training.
Well, right now, as you stated, the maintenance is not being done anyhow as it is on our trees that the residents now have on their tree lawn. You stated that, you've
Yep.
gone around,
Yep.
and that's the problem with the Cleveland pear at this time, I think, probably.
Well, it's a
because-
problem with all trees,
Right, I know.
and that they need a little bit of training, a little
All
bit of
right.
maintenance, so.
I'm glad you're here.
Good. If there's any other questions, I know you're late.
Thank
and
you,
I'll get out of
Ellen.
your
That
way.
was very informative.
All right.
All right, we're going to move right on to Karen Hackenberry.
Good evening. Thank you very much. I'm Karen. I'm the Executive Director of Possibilities, Humane Society of Greater Akron, and I basically came here tonight to meet you and to let you know that we're here to serve you and serve the people of Macedonia and all the residents of Summit County. We are essentially your animal cops. We employ the 2 humane officers who have full arrest and police powers to arrest and prosecute in situations where there may be animal cruelty and abuse. And we also, in addition to that being our mission, will take in sick and injured animals. We will help people find lost pets. We will be able to provide resources to folks who need assistance with pet food and other issues. So please call us. Please use us. We are your neighbors. Our shelter is right at 7996 Darrell Road in Twinsburg Township. We take in about 2,000 animals a year, but the happy part of the story is the adoptions. We adopt out over about 1,400 animals a year, and some of you may have some of those dogs, cats, rabbits, birds, and others. And if you do, we thank you for that. I want you to know that we are there. We're here to help you. We do provide from time to time some education programs, and we like to be out in the community as much as possible. So please, if we can be a resource, please, I urge you to use us. That's what we're here for. I also want to thank the people of Macedonia. You are increasingly our volunteers. You are increasingly our supporters, and you are increasingly our adopters. So we're very pleased to be here. And I wanted to say hello and to make sure that you knew that we're here to serve all of you.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks so much. Just like to say, I've been to Possibilities over on Darrow Road. It's a great place.
Thank you.
I went with a friend of mine, and I just think it's a wonderful thing you're doing, so I'm glad you came.
Thanks very much.
Moving on, Dana? I'm sorry, if you could help me pronounce your last name.
Good evening. My name is Dana Best Mizak. I am a former resident of Macedonia. I now live in Bedford, and I am the director of the Bedford Historical Society. And I don't want to steal any thunder from my colleagues here that are trying to save Longwood Manor, but I want to speak on their behalf for just a minute and strongly urge you to help them save this wonderful building. I'm very lucky in Bedford. We have a historic district that's on the National Register. Our society owns 3 buildings. Macedonia isn't quite so lucky. You don't have a lot of historic buildings. So please, please, please save the one that you have. It's a great, I haven't personally been to visit it in many years, but I've seen some of the recent pictures. You have a wonderful preservation group that's working hard to get started. They've reached out to us to answer some questions and help them along the way with some of the National Register stuff, and we're more than happy to continue to aid them. But again, as a resident and as a local historian, I would strongly urge you to please give them the support that they need.
Thank you. All right, next, we're very honored this evening to have this gentleman with us, Sheriff Steve Berry. Hi, Sheriff Berry.
Mayor, thank you very much. Every time I'm up here, I feel like my back's to somebody. I apologize. I just was here, I'm Sheriff Steve Berry, Summit County Sheriff's Office. I was just here to address council, the mayor and the council, city officials, and you ladies and gentlemen, the voters of Macedonia, regarding the 0.25% sales initiative that's on the ballot, additional sales tax that's on the ballot in November. There's been a lot of information going around. Some of it is fact, some of it is not. So I would like to clarify, take about 2 minutes and clarify a few things. First of all, the reason this all came about was because last year we finally went to the executive's office, all the judges, city, township, village officials throughout the county, and said we cannot continue this way at the Summit County Jail. Ladies and gentlemen, one misnomer I want to clear up real quick is the Summit County Jail is not overcrowded. It is not overcrowded. We can serve 671 or house 671 inmates every day. We usually go about 630 to 650. Our staffing is critically at a level for about 400 to 500 inmates. Where we used to have 4 and 5 deputies, we have 2 and 3. We're averaging 2 deputies per every 120 to 150 inmates, folks, on duty at a time. So we hit an all-time high late last year in Summit County. At the Summit County Jail, for the first time, we had over 30 people who were in there charged with some type of homicide charge or related to a homicide at one time, along with 620 to 630 other inmates. It's not good, and it is a critical need. The only way we could bring the revenue to us through a county system was to look at the general fund, because that's where my budget comes from. And due to being slashed over $100 million in the last 8 years in the general fund of Summit County, we have never bounced back from the 2009 layoffs. A Department of Justice study expert came in last year and admitted that we were 50 people down, sworn deputies, and approximately 10 to 12 civilians for the programs that we used to run. We no longer do. This is a sales tax because that was the fairest way, instead of going after property owners for more taxes. This is a quarter out of every $100 spent in Summit County would come 92%. The arena is no longer in this resolution, ladies and gentlemen. For anybody that doesn't know, and I can't imagine anybody here doesn't, but it's been all over the papers and in the news, the arena was dropped from that resolution. It was actually, the whole resolution was dropped, renumbered, and went back to before Summit County Council. So there's no longer arena attached. 92% of the monies is going towards criminal justice as a whole. And what I mean by that is an enhanced 911 system in the next few years, because ours is becoming obsolete. The 800 radio system for different villages, townships, cities in Summit County. This is going to have a great impact because our equipment is becoming obsolete. It is not that we have a nice Chevrolet and we went to Cadillac. It is because we no longer can upgrade. The manufacturers say, we no longer have those parts. You have to go to a different system in the next few years. This is not a choice we want to make. This is not a choice that we like. I'm a taxpayer also, folks. We have no choice. We are at a critical, severely critical need in this county for criminal justice to be helped. And I'm asking you to think about that in November and to help us, please. We are at a very, very critical need for criminal justice, especially at the Summit County Jail. For those of you that don't know, everyone arrested in this county that you read about in the paper, hear about on the news, etc., including by Macedonia Police. And you guys have a great department, by the way, police and fire. They end up at our jail. if it's a felony, heinous crime. So everybody that's arrested in Summit County ends up in Summit County Jail. They're charged with murder, rape, robbery, kidnapping, anything like this. They're at our facility. We're looking for the public's help. We truly, truly need it. This is not a want, folks. This is a true need. Any questions I can answer, if it's okay.
Well, there was some questions from council. Perhaps they can ask you, Sheriff.
All right.
There was some, well, the question was, the 800 megahertz. Is this to help the cities convert the 800 megahertz, or is it just for the county's conversion?
No, sir, it's for the cities, villages, townships, conversion, as well as staying on the system and enhancing it with newer equipment, as well as, I will tell you, this is not from the county, this is from your state government, who wants to regionalize and have collaborative efforts between agencies. They no longer want Barberton not being able to talk to Akron. And what I'm saying to you, sir, is a lot of people do not know. Right now, we have 17 radio rooms in this county. They will no longer fund 17 radio rooms. In 5 years, you're going to be down to 5 that will be funded. 3 years after that to 5 years after that, 3.
Will that be funded through the county or through the various cities? And that was the confusion we had. The chief seemed to think that this was not going to.
No, we are going to put funds towards that for all the areas.
Do we know how that's being?
Percentage-wise?
Yes.
I do not have that with me.
Has that been determined?
My understanding is it has been determined.
Maybe you could get that to the chief.
Chief Black, do you know if that's been determined since?
I
I
do
know that
not
we
know.
had the fire, and we're in the process of getting the police chiefs of Summit County behind it. We do have the Fire Chiefs Association behind it.
So what's the funding for fire chiefs? What's the percentage then for the megahertz?
I don't know the exact percentages
Has
of
that
what they're
been
going to give
determined,
out.
Chief?
We do have the 800 system. We will probably be looking at going onto the 800 system very in the future.
I understand we're looking on going on, but the question is this 0.25% increase of sales tax assisting the city to go on to that, or is it just assisting the county? And that's the confusion. Some people say one, some people say they don't know, and some people say the other.
Tell you what, sir, I will bring paperwork up to you.
We don't need to bring it, just
I'll be glad to.
send it to me.
That's how bad I need this.
Well, you know what, Sheriff, I think there's a little bit of a factor here that we have to look at as far as who will get funding and how much. There are some communities that use your services only, all right? I have been a mayor for several years of our of our Mayor's Association, and we talked about it there. Some communities will get more than other communities, only because they use your services more than other communities.
It is
So-
also due to the rate of number of 911 calls, et cetera, from the various areas.
Exactly.
Mayor, just so you know. That's what they're looking at, the top 5 radio rooms due to the number of 911 calls that particular radio room receives. Will also receive extra. This is the other types of things they look at, number of calls, number of 911s, et cetera. That's how the government's deciding how to divvy it up and go to those 5, then to 3.
Now, from
Not
my.
us, just so you know.
Okay, now,
not
from
us.
my understanding, we will still be one of the lowest in the state as far as sales tax.
That's correct, sir. We'll be the second lowest.
See that?
We
So
are
in
the
other
bottom-
words,
We are the bottom lowest right now.
we're only gonna move up one notch.
One notch, and that's the lowest we can go due to being a charter county. We cannot take it under 0.25% by law due to being a charter county. That is the lowest we can go for a sales tax addition.
Any other questions for the sheriff? Anybody? All right,
Ladies and
great.
gentlemen, thank you.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff. All right, next we're gonna move on to Michael Miller. Mike?
Michael Miller, 1047 Berkshire Drive. I'd also like to say hello to Ed Morris. He's a good guy. I'm here very close to my 28th anniversary of moving into Macedonia. When I came here, this was a fairly exciting city with a lot of promise. I think we've lived up to that promise. I think it's still an exciting place. But I see, and I see all too often, the erosion of homeowners' rights. We have flooding in parts of our town where the water actually comes from city property. We have arguments over personal property, a barn. we have lot split questions. The building department is called in, the law department is called in. When did we become such a complicated place to live with each other? I think our focus ought to be on getting back to what it was like in 1986, when you could go for a walk in Macedonia, you could take your dog, you could ride your bike. I remember riding my bike all over town. And I'd still like to do that. Now we have a bike path. So we have a beautiful park. Let's use some of those things and let's protect the homeowners' rights. Let's not have fireworks going off every single night throughout the summer. Let's have the city or the contractor who redid our roads come and fix our tree lawns, which I have been assured by the city engineer that they set money aside to fix ours. Mine's not been fixed, and it's 100 feet long. I remember when there was a relationship between the homeowner and the city officials. We knew them by name. If I had a question for Joe, I went up to Joe and said, hey, let's get a pool. Or if I had a complaint about something, they actually responded to me. I'm hoping that Macedonia can be what it used to be, and I don't see that now. So I'm imploring, begging our council and our mayor and our building officials and our law director and our chiefs to think about the property owner before we go and start some conflict that's just not worth it. That's it.
All right, just once again to reiterate, Mike, most of the time, anytime we're involved with something like that, it stems from a complaint. And if we don't get the complaint, we don't go out, then the complaint gets into some further action.
Don, I'm giving you a complaint. Let's cut the complaints.
Well, then I think we need to get that word out. Residents, do not complain. Okay. All right, that handles it tonight for our public comments. So it's time now for us to move right into pending and/or new legislative items, beginning with ordinance number 62-2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance number 62, 2014 for its third reading by title only, please.
An ordinance amending sections 12102D, 12102Q, 12303 of the codified ordinances of the City of Macedonia, Ohio, in order to conform with the most recent version of the charter.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass, according to law, ordinance number 62, 2014.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes?
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
Ordinance number 62 passes. Moving on to ordinance number 69, 2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance 69, 2014 for its second reading by title only.
An ordinance providing for the review of the charter by the Charter Review Commission, fixing its duties and establishing a procedure for the review.
Moving on, resolution number 70.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer resolution number 70 for its second and third reading by title only.
Second? I think she's got to read it first.
Oh, that would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that, sorry.
Okay.
A resolution confirming the appointments of the Charter Review Commission.
No, because it's two.
Second and third, she said.
Second,
It's
third reading, so
second,
I need a second on it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I second it.
Do we need a motion
To suspend the rules.
to
yeah.
suspend the
yeah, that's
rules?
what she's just done.
No, I
now.
think she offered it.
No, he
It was
offered.
offered it for second and third.
Right, and so far, and I read it without getting a roll call, sorry.
Okay.
Let's start all over again.
Mr. Engel offered it, Ms. Darrow seconded it for its second and third, and I read it prematurely.
All right,
You need to say all.
all in favor?
Aye.
No.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hankin?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
No.
Are you not happy with the people we all picked?
No, I just want to go through due process.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Engel, then for your second, is there a second reading?
Mr. Mayor, I would offer Resolution 70, 2014 for a second reading by title only.
Would you like me to read it again?
Oh, yes, we want due process.
A resolution confirming the appointment to the Charter Review Commission.
Thank you.
Moving on, ordinance number 74-2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 74, 2014 for a for a second and third reading by title only.
Second?
Well, do we have a motion to suspend the rules?
That is the motion
That
to
is the
suspend the
motion,
rule.
sir.
That's the way
All
we've
right.
always done it. If we
And
wanted
we
to.
have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I said aye.
Don't you want due process?
This one's not necessary.
Oh,
Did you read this
No,
yet?
sir, I haven't. I was waiting for everyone to stop talking.
Okay.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement with Income in order to upgrade the city's existing video equipment.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance 74, 2014 according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes, second time I voted yes, but yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
Ordinance 74-2014 passes. So for our TV audience, this is going to be good news. Ordinance number 76, 2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance 76, 2014 for its second reading by title only.
An ordinance accepting the Ohio EPA Section 319H non-point source implementation grant for the Lake Erie watershed to be used for the Macedonia Stormwater Innovation Park and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement therefore.
And what's your pleasure?
No, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Ordinance number 77-2014.
Mr. Mayor, I offer ordinance number 77, 2014 for its second and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I had it
An
here.
ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a mutual aid agreement with the Summit County Metro Crash Response Team.
I apologize. I had it marked down for the wrong numbers, so that's why I was confused. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I ask that we pass ordinance number 77, 2014 according to law, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar?
Yes.
All right, moving on. Ordinance number 82, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer ordinance 82, 2014 for second reading by title only.
An ordinance amending codified ordinance section 1171-15B to allow a storage barn as a non-residential use in a residential district.
Josephine, I have a question. If they have to make changes to that, do they do that now or when we go to do our third?
I think we probably need to consult with, or I was planning on consulting with the law director after the meeting to make sure we're on the same page.
Okay.
And then we'll bring
All
the
right.
changes at the next meeting and.
Good idea,
All right,
because this was drafted a year ago, so.
right. All right, I just wondered.
Changed your thoughts now, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on, resolution number 83, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer resolution number 83, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
A resolution appointing Louis Townsend to the Civil Service Commission in order to fill a recent vacancy.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to pass and post, according to law, resolution number 83, 2014.
I need a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
All right, Lou, welcome to the club. You're now a Civil Service Commissioner. Welcome to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say I appreciate the appointment, and as you know, I have many years of experience as a federal manager, that sort of thing. But one of the things I really enjoyed about this appointment was that it was competitive. As you know, you have resumes out to be submitted for this job. I think that should be something we do for all positions, because it makes it fair, to have it that way. I had an interview with Bridget, and I found it to be very, very good. So hopefully in the future, when we have these kind of appointments, we will have some kind of competition for them, because I think we need the best people for these types of jobs.
You can count on it. Thank you, Lou. All right. Resolution 84, 2014.
I'd like to offer Resolution 84, 2014 for its first reading by title only.
A resolution expressing support for the County of Summit's proposed 0.25% additional sales and use tax, and urging the citizens of the City of Macedonia to vote yes on the issue at the November 4th, 2014 general election.
Moving on, ordinance number 85, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to offer ordinance 85, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a contract for the residential solid waste collection, disposal, and recycling services and automated trash collection with Browning Ferris Industries of Ohio, Republic Services, for a 5-year term beginning on December 1, 2014, and expiring with options on November 30th, 2019.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance number 85, 2014, and according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
I'd like to say yes, and we did go out for bid for this, and we've got a very good price. It's actually $1 less for the coming year than it has been, so it's a great price. Thank you.
And Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
Ordinance 85 passes. I'd like to congratulate Jim and your staff. Good job. Ordinance number 86, 2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance 86, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into a contract with JD Striping and Services, Inc. for the 2014 pavement marking program of City Streets program.
And what's your pleasure?
I move that we pass and post according to law ordinance 89, 2014.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Molnar.
Yes.
Moving on with ordinance number 87-2014.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to offer ordinance 87, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance amending and supplementing the 2014 annual appropriations ordinance 26, 2014.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend one of the items on the fund list, fund number 101, 150, 5340, legal fees, to be $54,000.
Is that a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It was offered.
Okay.
It was offered, it was amended.
Yes, and now we are,
Pass them. You gotta pass it.
However you want to do it.
What's your pleasure?
okay. Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance number, let me get the right one, 87, 2014, according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes?
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Mulner?
Yes.
I'd just like to make one comment. Thanks to Chief Golden for including in here the acquisition of a canine for the, to assist, I think, in the drug enforcement in the high schools. So I know that the principal of the high school, Casey Wright, has talked to me about this, and I believe he's talked to you about it. So thank you.
Moving on with ordinance number 88, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Excuse me. Where are we starting? I would like to offer ordinance 88, 2014 for its first, second, and third reading by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance authorizing closure of Fund 216 Capital Agency Fund and transferring the balance to the General Fund 101.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we pass and post ordinance 89,
88.
88, 2014, according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Mulner?
Yes.
Moving on to ordinance number 89, 2014.
Mr. Mayor, I offer ordinance number 89, 2014 by title only, please. For
Second.
its first, second, and third reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance amending section 18102 of the codified ordinances of the city of Macedonia by adding the definition of taxable income for clarification purposes.
And what's your pleasure?
Mr. Mayor, I ask that we pass and post ordinance number 89, 2014 according to law.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Darrow?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Ms. Hannigan?
Yes.
Mr. Mulner?
Yes.
Very good. Just a slight, quick synopsis of that, Scott, so people know what it was.
It's a law that was recommended by Rita to get our codified ordinances in line with the recent court decision that's become state law. It defines how net profit taxes are to be treated.
Thank you. Moving on, ordinance number 90, 2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance 90, 2014 for its first reading by title only.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to engage the state auditor to create a tailored performance audit of the City of Macedonia departments and services.
And what's your pleasure? Oops, I'm sorry, that was first. Ordinance number 91-2014.
Mr. Mayor, we didn't have a chance to discuss this in a work session, so I'd like to offer ordinance number 91, 2014 for a first reading by title only.
Second. Oh, I don't have to second it, that's fine.
An emergency ordinance to appropriate the street purposes, for street purposes, certain fee simple interests and/or easements in and to the premises more fully described below, and the plans and specifications for the project along State Route 82 to facilitate its widening and resurfacing, including drainage improvements and traffic control signals, further identified as PID number 81656 with the county route section number of some State Route 82465.
Moving on, ordinance number 92-2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance 92, 2014 for its first reading by title only.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to
God bless
enter
you.
Bless
into a revised agreement with Summit County and other participating municipalities with regards to the intergovernmental memorandum of understanding for job creation and retention and tax revenue sharing with the term beginning October 1, 2014 through June 30th, 2015.
All right, are there any other motions or legislative actions this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I do know that the Manor House extension expired in August here, and I'm wondering if we should just have a motion to continue the extension in effect here. What would be the right approach?
Joe?
Yeah, it would be, make a motion to extend the time period. I think it's expired or is expiring the end of the month. so-
Yes, it is,
Mhm.
right.
So a motion to extend that time. You should set a limit if you want to again.
Why don't we say 24 months? Because
Okay.
we've made awfully good progress and we're
Right.
very happy.
We're extremely happy, and they've met their burden. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm offering a motion that we extend the time period from this existing ordinance on the Manor House for 24 months.
Do we know the exact ordinance it was?
Second.
I can pull it.
Okay.
Okay, great.
All right.
Do you want me to make reference to it in the minute?
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any other motion or legislative actions?
I have one other question, and it's to Jim Digatano. You wanted us to provide a motion concerning the extension of the waste management support for the seniors who have.
Yes, we're getting a lot of calls from seniors asking if we're going to extend that.
Right, for the 2014, 2015, is that the idea of it?
Yes, for 2014 into 2015.
Into 2015? Does anybody have an issue doing that?
No.
No.
Okay, then I'm,
Same terms as before?
yes, on the same terms of I'm offering a motion to
Wait, I
extend.
think Josephine has a,
May I interrupt? Did the ordinance that allowed this, did it have an end date?
I don't remember, we'd have to check on that, but I just wanted to make sure, I didn't want to, because we send out applications again in September for our plowing and for this. And I just wanted to I didn't want to say yes to them without being absolutely sure that
Josephine, maybe you should check, and we can do it next year, next week. I think everybody's in agreement that we want to
Yeah.
do
Yes.
it,
We're
but we
all
want
in
to do it
agreement.
correctly, right, Nick?
Yeah.
So you can tell people we're working on it, and we'll have it done next council meeting.
Yes, I'll pull the ordinance to see, I'm not sure that there's
and
an
that'll
end date.
fall right in place with our
Applications.
and applications.
Sure.
Are there any other motions or legislative actions? Hearing none, is there any correspondence to the clerk?
Several years ago, the Nordoni Hills Garden Club spent thousands of dollars and many hours planting roses and flower plants in Macedonia Memorial Park. The addition of these plants made a beautiful tribute to our military who have served our country and this community. Since that time, the maintenance of the park has declined. This is by far the worst year I've seen. The planting beds are full of weeds and dead plants. Tomorrow is August 1, summer is nearly gone, and the only maintenance I've seen is the mowing of the grass. The Garden Club tries to do a beautification project every year. The city of Macedonia was very happy for us to do this project and understood at the time it was done that the city would be responsible for maintenance. This park has not been properly maintained since it was planted. A few more years of this and the plants will be dead and the investment of the garden club will be wasted. Macedonia is surrounded by communities with well-maintained parks and beautiful baskets and plantings. Is there some reason that Macedonia community deserves less? Your attention to this issue would be appreciated. Jan Filnick, Macedonia resident. Dear Mayor and Council, I am a member of the Nordonia Hills Garden Club who has been instrumental in purchasing, planting, and fertilizing flowers, shrubs, and trees at Memorial Park in your lovely city of Macedonia. I am appalled at what I've continued to see in the past as many others. I noticed there has been recently some attention and cleanup done at the park and hope your people continue to do so. It is still badly in need of mulch to keep out the weeds. It seems our club's beautification project has been for naught. Countless people drive by Memorial Park every day, and you, as city leaders, seem to have no pride in how your city outwardly appears to others. It is shameful. There are weeds, vines, lack of proper mulch, dead shrubs, etc. Why is it that your city cannot maintain this park properly and regularly? Our club has made it clear that once this project was completed, we would not be responsible for maintaining it. Many times our club has seen the desperate need for maintenance, and we have stepped up to the plate for a major cleanup due to your lack of care. We cannot continue to do this, nor should we. Not only does this reflect poorly on your city, but our club as well. It has been an embarrassment to us and to your residents. I can drive through any other city, Twinsburg, Brecksville, Oakwood, Independence, Strongsville, etc., and see a city who takes pride and great care of their city's gateway landscaping. What would it take to invest in hiring an extra few people to properly maintain it a few times a month during the growing season? Our garden club would be happy to show them the proper care and maintenance of the landscape. Come on, Macedonia, show some pride and class for your city. Carrie Witchard, a Nordonia Hills garden member. Dear Officer Chris Neal and Officer Rizzo, thank you very much for coming to my ride so quickly on July 13th. I was very upset by the fact that someone hit my vehicle and just drove off. I didn't know what to do, and I appreciate the time and patience you took with me and continuing efforts to try and track down the person who did this. Thank you again for every day for protecting, assisting, the citizens of Macedonia. Tiffany Vitan. Dear Chief Tim Black, I would like to highly commend the medics and explorers from your department that came out and volunteered on Fresh Air Camp the week of June 8th. As a mom of one of the tracheostomy-dependent campers, an RN and EMS program coordinator for the healthcare system I work for, I was truly impressed with your crew members and their willingness to help at the camp. Their eagerness to help the kids put out the house fires with the mobile unit, show off your trucks, and assist in the pool and the swim days left me speechless. I spoke to several of the medics that were at the camp that week, and they were impressed as well with your professionalism and the professional attitude, as well as the example they demonstrated for the young explorers. Their actions were honestly a reflection of the administration of your department. Thank you for allowing them to come out and camp, and thank you for providing the leadership that encourages this type of community involvement. As I reflect back on that week, I am excited and proud to say that we have incredible men of valor out in the field serving our communities on several different levels. Well done, Chief. This is from Chris Coffey, of the program coordinator for the Samaritan Regional Health System. If I didn't make that clear, I'm sorry. That's it, sir.
That's it. All right. Next is the mayor's report. We're going to start coming to a time right now where I just can't emphasize enough that we have to be aware that we're going to have a lot of problems with traffic in the city of Macedonia. Following is the latest information from ODOT as provided to me by our city engineer concerning making Interstate 271 a 6-lane highway. The project consists of major reconstruction, widening, and bridge deck replacement on I-271. Now remember, we have two bridges, one over 82 and one over Ledge Road. This project will accomplish widening the road from 4 to 6 lanes, including the redecking and widening of the 4 structures over State Route 82 and Norfolk Southern Railroad. So in other words, they're not only going to make the bridge wider, 6 lanes wide, but they're going to widen the span of the bridge. So this will be the entire city of Macedonia will be facing it. This project also consists of the relocation of the I-271 northbound entrance ramp from State Route 82 to South Freeway Drive, as well as the widening of approximately 0.25 miles of State Route 82 to accommodate the addition of a 6th travel lane. What will this lane do? Well, right now, if you're going to the Commons from City Hall, you have to make a left turn and you get into a turning lane that's approximately 125 feet long. Once this is done, that same turning lane will be 620 feet long. South Freeway Drive will be widened to accommodate the addition of a northbound left turn lane into the new Interstate 271 northbound entrance ramp. The new turn lanes resulting in that part of Route 82 will be well over 600 feet. So it's going to be bad, but when it's all done, it'll be like never before. The project has been sold by ODOT to a design-build team of Great Lakes Construction and URS. The amount is approximately $46 million. So there's going to be a lot of money, a lot of people, a lot of work going on. Construction is scheduled to commence in the fall of 2014. Somebody showed me a red leaf the other day. We're that close. The following is anticipated sequence of the project schedule. Fall 2014, work on the outside shoulders for maintenance of traffic purposes. So they're going to start on 271 by making a lane where you can move over so that they'll be working on the bridges. So that's going to start very soon. Winter 2014-15. Well, you don't really hear too much happen in the winter, not with this project. Traffic maintained on the outside lanes for bridge demolition and pavement work on the inside. Spring and summer 2015. Traffic maintained on the outside lanes for inside pavement on the widening and bridges. Spring 2015, just a stone's throw away. Freeway Drive and relocated North Ramp construction. Fall 2015 and spring 2016. Traffic maintained on the inside to construct pavement bridges on the outside. And the State Route 82 construction. Naturally, you can't widen 82 until you widen the 271 bridge to make room for it. Summer 2016, well, this is where it starts to get good because we've always had a lot of people complaining about noise from our freeways, so they'll start the noise wall construction, which we will have, that we never had before. Fall 2016, construction completed. So this is fall 2014, fall 2016. $46 million project, design build. That's unheard of. It took us 2 years to build one bridge, remember? Just a short time ago. Updates to project milestones will be provided as the project develops. But I'll tell you what. You know, Macedonia has this tremendous service that everybody in this room, in this city, should have on their phones if they text. The name of the service is Nixle. It's very, very simple to send a message to 3 8s and 3 7s, 888-777. What's the message? 44056. Do that. All right, as soon as you do that, it'll take about a half a minute to a minute, but you'll get verification you are now on the system. So what's so good about that? Well, we use it all the time right now to say things like a water main broke, a street light is out, a child is missing. All of these things go over Nixle today, all right? And it's very, very important with all of this construction. Think about it. They have something happen, they're moving a beam for a bridge and it falls down and State Route 82 is closed, heading west. Wouldn't you like to get a text stating that before you went out the door to go to Giant Eagle and find out you can't even go through there? Let's go to Giant Eagle in Twinsburg. So Nixle is critical, and if you would, please spread the word to all your neighbors. We're going to have a lot more meetings. This road work is never a very popular thing. But once this road work is done, our fate will be sealed, and we will truly be the crossroads of Northeast Ohio. And if you think about it, it will enhance the value of your property here. It will truly make Macedonia a destination city. Court receipts for the month of August were $35,787, and that concludes my report. Moving on to committee reports. Are there any committee reports?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to offer as finance chair that the finance director has asked us to move ahead in preparation for the 2015 budget. And we have a tentative schedule, which will include finance committee meetings to support that schedule. Currently, what we're looking at is in September, on September 18th, we'll be reviewing the budget draft as provided by the finance director. On October 2nd, we will have a second finance committee meeting to review the line department budgets, and then October 16th to review the support department budgets. And then the proposed schedule is October 23rd, first reading, November 13th, second reading, and December 11th, third and final reading on our 2015 budget.
Ms. Hannigan, do you have any times with those meetings yet?
The plan would be to have those finance committee meetings at 7 p.m. at City Hall.
I have it on the
those
September
Thursdays?
calendar, I just didn't have a time.
Okay.
Are there any other committee reports?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Planning Committee met on August 18, 2014. We went over Western Reserve wall sign and also 360 East Highland Road, a ground monument signage at Chicago Title. We also, at 1211 East Highland, ground monument signage, extra lease. Also Macedonia Commons, replacement existing signage. And then Sinorama sign relocation is going to be at 9862 Freeway Drive, Unit B. At the time, right now, Sinorama is currently located in Macedonia Town Square Plaza. And also, I'm not sure, we don't have a confirmed time on this yet, but we may be having a special meeting on August 31st to replace the existing under canopy blade sign for Macedonia Commons. That is not confirmed yet at this time, so just kind of keep an eye on the website and see if that's going to go forward. because at this time, I believe some of the commission do not want to meet at this time with the holiday and so forth. And our next planning commission meeting will be Monday, September 15th, 2015 at 5:30. And I believe that's when they would like to have that special meeting. Are you aware of that, Mr. Mayor, by any chance?
Yes.
I think you and I are the only ones that responded so far as being able
Well,
to be
from
available.
yeah, I think you and I are the only ones, so I'm not anticipating that happening.
Okay,
And it's not something real critical.
right, okay.
All right.
That's
Are
it.
there any other committee reports? Hearing none, let's move on to department reports. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We conducted a Get Caught Green-Handed program. I mentioned it at the last council meeting. This is a program that rewards residents for their efforts in recycling. We put all the street names in a drawing and picked 70 streets randomly to see who actually recycles. And then we went out on collection day to check to make sure you recycled, and we put your addresses in a drawing. And part of this is to reward residents for doing their part in recycling. We use grant money, so this didn't cost the city anything. This is part of the Reworks grant. We purchased gift cards from local Macedonia businesses, Menchie's, Dunkin' Donuts, and Chick-fil-A. We picked them all, and you should be getting your gift cards shortly. There were 70 homes picked. And also, while we were out, something that I noticed conducting this program, I needed to verify the addresses on a lot of the residents. And there's a lot of your homes don't have addresses, not even on your mailboxes. And for safety reasons, I would think you would want to make it visible so that, police, fire, and I know they have GPS and they could probably, do it that way. But a lot of times in an emergency, you gotta know where you're at. And a lot of homes, I couldn't believe how many didn't have it. So for your safety, I would advise put 4-inch address numbers with contrasting color and put it on your home. And redo the numbers on your mailboxes so that, we could see help police and fire, or anybody making deliveries for that matter. So it's just one issue to think about. Also, I want to make note that the crossovers were completed, the 8 that we mentioned. And then we started Miglerini Way, but we opened up half the street, and we discovered by investigating things that there is a water leak, and we can't proceed to finish that area until Cleveland Water does the repair. And they said they might not even be able to get to next week. So that street's been open for like 2 weeks. So if anybody's concerned, that's the reason why. And as soon as Cleveland Water finds the leak, we'll finish the road. Gloria and Eileen, we're gonna start this coming Tuesday. It's a week behind, and I delayed it a week purposely because I have other projects that we have to do. I don't have the crews or the equipment to just be able to do everything that I would like to do. So what we did was we dropped it back and we took care of a lot of ditching, and we took care of a lot of other problems that are going on in the city. So we were able to get some of those projects done and some work orders done. So Tuesday we'll go back to stormwater issues. And that's part of the reason for our parks. I'm not happy with the parks, especially Memorial, because I think that's a park that should be pristine, especially for the reason why it's called Memorial Park. I know Terry Wicker, and we talked before she wrote that letter. And I told her, go ahead and write it, because I feel council needs to hear this. Sometimes if I'm speaking, maybe it doesn't hit as close to home as it should, but when a resident does, or people that pass by, I think it has more effect. I want to get that done. There are plans, and when we do our budget, I will show you those plans as far as what I would like to do especially Memorial Park. So anyways, going on to finish my report, I informed the mayor and the finance director, Scott, that salt has doubled in price. Last year, we were paying $27.50. This year, it went up to $55.48 a ton. The supplier will be Cargill. We're in pretty good shape. I have about 3,000 tons stocked, but that cost is there. And I let the mayor and Scott know that so that Scott can prepare for what's coming. And that's not a bad price because I've heard prices as high as $132 a ton. So we're still okay. But that's my report, Mayor, for this council meeting.
One of the things we have to keep in mind is sometimes there's the best thing that I can say is Jim does a tremendous job. He's everywhere. He's constantly trying to help residents any way he can, and he's 6 men short.
Right.
So thank you for all that you do. We don't recognize you for all that you do, but sometimes the things we don't do come up to bite us. And I have to say thank you for all that you do, and I'm sorry, and I know you're sorry that we can't make that park look better.
Could I ask you, were your men able to go out and look at the issue over at Longwood that I mentioned to you?
Yeah, that's taken care of.
Okay.
Oh.
There was a mechanism that there had been something on that walk that was destroyed.
Yeah, that's also, there's another one that we're gonna take out. That's by the score tower. That was meant to, there was a board that used to come up and would keep people from driving in there.
Right.
That's the reason why they put a mound there with the shrubbery in that, to keep people out. But that didn't help because they drove right over the mound.
They drove over
I mean, there's a lot of issues that, sometimes the people that do things, they cause a lot of the damage that we have.
Right.
We try to stop them, but.
Well, I
Sometimes
just want to
you can't.
compliment
But
you
it's
on
out.
getting it fixed immediately. I got a call about that, so I wanted to make sure that you did take care of it.
Jim, how's the applications going for new hire?
We had over 50, and we went with Betsy and we went over, we have about 10 candidates, and we're gonna start interviewing next week.
Okay.
And hopefully we can get, and then we're also looking at a couple things, there's a couple things that came up that I'm gonna approach council to see if we can get another man, because my electrician is gonna be dedicated, basically, doing a lot of electrical work. As you know, that our utilities are gonna go up like 25%. And he's gonna spend a lot of time changing our lights out to help reduce that cost. And plus, I had to get him licensed for an A and B operator license because we were out of compliance. We have to keep our tanks, all our fuel tanks, have to be inspected by somebody who has an A and B license. He got it, plus a bunch of other licenses that he got. So he's gonna be a very busy man, and he won't, that's another man that'll be taking out of my service to help, so. Yeah. But we're interviewing, and hopefully I can get the replacement within the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
All right. Mike?
Thanks, Mayor. GFS, we're giving them a building occupancy. They're plan on opening this weekend, and tentatively they have their ribbon cutting, I believe, set with the chamber for the 18th, but I'll get back to you on that. The zoning and engineering occupancy, we are holding a 30-day. We have quite extensive punch list on the site that they need to complete some things. But we're going ahead and letting them open. None of them are life safety issues. The assisted living center has foundation only as far as the building portion of it. We ran into a glitch with some of their footers. We're currently working through the plan process on those. Enclave, we did the proof roll this week. There were some items of concern. We had the testing company make recommendations, and they're fixing all the areas that were bad. And the retail center is started footers, and they ran into some soil issues and are now going into spread footer situations. That concludes my report.
Could you just give us an update on the contract for the road replacement repair stuff?
Yes, the bid opening is on September the 3rd, and then Nick's gonna, September the 2nd, and Nick's going to go over that in his report.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Angela?
Thank you. It's that time of year where we lose a lot of our seasonal part-time workers. So we're currently accepting applications for certified lifeguards, certified WSI instructors, and certified fitness instructors. So if you or anybody you know are looking for part-time work or contracted work as a fitness instructor, please go to our website and you can print out an application, or you can stop in at the rec center front desk and fill one out as well. The rec center will be closed in observance of Labor Day on Monday, September 1st, so I want to wish everybody a safe holiday weekend. We will be closed for our annual week of building maintenance, September 15th through the 21st this year. Generally, we try and keep that in August, but from time to time, we have projects where other companies' calendars dictate our closing. So we are still closed just 1 week this year, as always, but it is going to be September 15th through the 22nd this year. And that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
I'd like to just have you go over the community festival results.
Scott and I have been working on closing out the reports for the community festival. As everybody may know, we had $50,000 allocated to the festival fund. We did come in total expenses at $40,905. I did send all of this to council, and I did have some footnotes in here as well. I don't know if everyone's had enough time to review this. One item that was not included in the expenses, but Sylvia and I did discuss this prior to, it did not come out of the festival fund because of a payroll issue, but there was an overtime cost for service for $5,423.37. So if you do add those together, those expenses total, not out of the fund, but total for the event would be $46,329.35. Our total revenue is $29.53. Our amusement collections for ride sales totaled $41,655 for the event. And I would like to point out we did lose a full day of that event due to storms and weather. So basically this is based off of a 3-day event. So one thing I also pointed out in a follow-up email to council was that we do get a percentage of that based on an agreed upon contract with the amusement ride company, which is predetermined ahead of time. This was treated completely as a first-year event. They didn't know what to expect coming to this community, you know, the type of attendance that they would receive. So they were cautious. We do have room if we do proceed to, you know, to host this event in the future. We certainly have room to negotiate different amounts and different percentages from year to year, and that's something I would highly recommend. Now that we know numbers, now that we have solid numbers from this event, I certainly would recommend that be looked into and be something that's modified for the future. I'm trying to think. We did also, part of those expenses, we had about $8,109, which were recommended safety electrical upgrades by the city electrician. Those I've been assured were a one-time expense, so the city will not incur over $8,100 in electrical upgrades ever again for this event. This is a one-time thing. So we have everything in place. We have everything that he recommended that we needed for our, you know, everyone's safety, for all of the sound, the lighting, the rides, everything. So that was something that we couldn't avoid, and that will not be incurred again in the future.
Okay, thank you. I guess I did the math myself. This year, the the total loss, as you put it, is $17,276.35 if you include the cost of the service department effort.
And that, yes, and that does include expenses that were not incurred before in this type of budget. That incurs police, all of the overtime,
Okay.
all of the service
Okay.
overtime, all of the city services. There's a lot of items that, because it was budgeted by the city completely, were all paid for, by the city completely out of this budget.
I just wanted to make sure we got that on the record, because as you know, I had asked about this earlier, after the event. So we've got a picture now of what's possible. There are some things that you mentioned here in your footnotes about enhancing the use of maybe volunteers a little bit more to help out. And I think that's something that we ought to be considering. I agree with that.
Yeah, and just a side note on that. I mean, this was put together in a very, very, very short window of time. This is something that should be worked on for a year in advance. I mean, maybe, a little bit shorter of a time than that, could still be done. This was put together in, less than 4 months. So, a lot of things that we were forced to do as far as the food vendors that we had to select, things like that, we would have the opportunity with more time, with more planning time, to solicit our own food vendors, have more time to solicit sponsorship and not have that in such a small window of time. So that definitely would increase revenue as well.
Let me suggest that you're saying that we should be starting in September here then to prepare for next year.
I believe
Well,
that's
if we
what we
pass the
did.
budget before the end of the year,
Okay.
and we could certainly get a jump start on that prior to the holidays or around the holidays, that would be ideal.
So are you are you wanting to do it again next year, and are you asking for council to give you direction in September so we can get started?
Well, I certainly would.
Is that yes to both of those?
Sure. I think at this point, if it's the decision of council. Not my decision. However, I would certainly say if this is something we want to continue to do, we've got the ball rolling and we've got a good year under our belt as a starting point. And, it does take a good 1 to 3 years to get something pretty well established, something of this magnitude. So I certainly would ask that be taken into consideration sooner than later.
I think it's important to note too that you said the electrical upgrade was $8,100. For a first year event, I think you really killed it. We got, I was surprised to see we came in where we're at. I thought we would have a little bit higher of a loss on it, but we're not trying to make money on this. This is a community event. This is meant for, children, bringing people together, the sense of community that I think we've lacked in the past. So I think moving forward, and maybe in the next meeting, I'm going to make the motion to go at this again. And, I think if you have a little bit more time, we'll get closer to even, which is obviously our goal. But given where we came in, and didn't you say we had some kind of record on Saturday for?
The amusement ride company they're family members of the previous amusement ride company. They said our Saturday ticket sales exceeded total event ticket sales of past events, and also the largest events now in the surrounding communities. Of course, your Twins Days. I know if anyone here has heard of the Duct Tape Festival, apparently this is a huge thing now. That's one of the largest money makers around here as far as ride sales, and we exceeded that, which was fantastic. Our ride sales were really great.
I'd be kind of interested to get your recommendations about how we might configure the festival differently, if we had some ideas about what things might go better if we did those things.
Yeah, we ran into, of course, as we always would, we could have a site plan set in place, and as soon as things are laid out and somebody sets something, something very large as far as a ride in a different place, and then we have to scramble and move other things around accordingly, which one of those things did happen. Many of those things popped up, as the event was being set up. One would be our community booths. They got moved at the last minute, and I don't think they got the visibility that they should have. So, we do already, we had a post-event meeting, and we already have a list of things that we want to work on and pay attention to for next year, so that we can modify them to improve on them.
Good job.
Thank you.
basically. Very good. Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. The 2013 audit is wrapping up, and glad to say there's no findings for recovery. One of the issues that they had made a comment on in the past is we had the legislation, actually, I don't know exact year it was passed, it's a legislation regarding the allocation of income tax and where a percentage goes to the parks, percentage goes to safety. So I'm going to try to get with our law director, Tom, in between the next meeting and have that revised and go with their suggestions, because we haven't been following that, where they just make a comment on it where the old legislation says, and I don't have the exact figures, where 27% of the income tax collected should go to safety, 27% or whatever goes to parks. And so we haven't followed that for years. We actually surpassed that in a lot of things, because most of the general fund income tax funds these various departments. But again, they'll make a comment on that and ask for us to fix that. So the next legislation, probably at the next meeting, I'll have that done. There's been a lot of talk lately, even at the last meeting, about possibly revising a CAFR, which is a comprehensive annual finance report. We've done it 1 year in Macedonia, back when Lauren was here, in 2007, and in 2008, because of lack of manpower, when the deputy position was not filled, and layoffs, and one full-time staff person was cut in finance, and for other financial reasons, the CAFR wasn't continued. So the CAFR is the most defined, detailed reporting a city can do, and it takes extra work, it takes extra money for auditing, it takes extra cost for gap conversion, and basically it will improve your bond rating, and also it's 10 years of historical data looking backwards. So that's another decision when we get into this budgeting process, whether the city wants to do a CAFR for this year, for the 2014, because once the year is closed, then that's when the process begins. I want to thank Jim and Sharon in the street department for doing all the stuff and the legwork for the bids for trash aggregation and the JD striping. I think the city benefited for both of those. Bids came in at an excellent price. And although we're not happy with the $55 that he mentioned about Cargill Salt, I know I saw something in the newspaper last week about ODOT in Stark County. Their contract was actually about $102 a ton. So even though 55 is not the greatest, I'd hate to be at $102 when you think of the cost associated with that. The RETA report for period 7 shows we're only about 1% down collections from previous year, and the net profits again is driving that. The corporations that some are new, some were benefited from our MOP agreements that came in within the last couple of years. They're the driving force why our income tax collections have not sagged behind the RETA predictions. And so we're only $47,900 down for the year as we move into August, which is unbelievable, really. Even RETA can't believe the reports as far as the net profits that's being allocated. One other note for I have, since GPD's here, I wanted to make sure I talked with our Assistant Law Director, Tom Hanslick, and he recommended getting a voice motion from council to certify the funds for the Route 82 project. This was part of the local share agreement that they did for OPWC, and OPWC asked GPD and Mr. Darwish for the finance director and other necessary documents to close or to finalize this agreement when they're scoring the system. And we did one generically before saying we'd have the local share, but they wanted to put in the exact dollar amount. So if I can get and Mo can probably explain it a little bit better, I'd like to get a voice motion from council for approval of, once we do receive the grant, to say that our local share of approximately $237,000 will be available. And basically that safeguards OPWC, knowing that we'll be mandated and legally obligated to have that money available should those funds, should the OPWC grant go forward. It's their way of saying we can't back out of the project, which I'm sure we don't have any intention of backing out because we're so far along. And also, we've been doing, DLZ has been doing the right-of-way acquisitions, and we've settled 19 contracts. I'm not sure how many we have to date, but they've been steadily going along, and some of the contracts for the right-of-way acquisition has been minimal to, a couple $100, just depending on the slice of how much land acquisition they need. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Scott. Do you need that motion now?
I would prefer that. Can you speak of that? So we have that in GPDs, and this was a recommendation that I wanted to make sure council was
Could you come to the
comfortable
mic, Mo? Thank you.
No problem, Mayor. Good evening.
Good evening.
This is the process, Mayor, when, we're looking into reducing the local share for the city, and by taking that local share from the federal funds and then try to get you the issue 2 funds. And at your direction, we applied for the OPWC to get 50% grant. We did the application, and then we submitted the application for the committee for District 8, which is in Summit County. And then Nick and I had the meeting to go over your application to basically give us a score. And the number that Scott was talking about is one of the requirements. We had the letter, but they said you need to specify the dollar amount. So we need to return to them. They asked for a couple items also. We have to provide them. And then we're working on these items so we can provide them, hopefully, Nick, by next week. So they can finalize, the scoring for the entire district. Hopefully we'll score well. We're competing with other communities. You're competing with communities with low income, which they can get better scores than Macedonia. But we have to wait and see. My recommendation to submit all these requirements so we can save the city on the local share.
Any questions for Mo? If not, go ahead.
What's the amount? I don't understand.
The 237,000.
Yes.
Yes, okay. This is for which project again?
The State Route 82.
Phase 3.
Phase
Over
3,
there.
this one, yes.
All
The
right.
one that we talked about, right-of-way acquisition was reported earlier.
Okay.
The, resolution that was passed, and this one also, the specifying the dollar amount.
All right.
This is funds that have already been appropriated. You just want us to confirm that, or?
OPWC, I mean, you're required to provide your local share for that project.
Right.
But we want to reduce your local share by 50%, so we applied for that grant. But OPWC wanted for the city to specify that dollar amount.
I don't think.
That you have it.
Have these dollars haven't been appropriated yet.
No, we have probably 100 and something thousand in our license plate tax that we'll use, that we can only use on arterial roads that come in and out of that. So that license plate money will be allocated. But again, this process will happen next year probably, right? Or will it happen this year?
It will happen this year. And again, I don't want to ruin everybody's evening, but this is a grant. So if you don't receive the grant, the city's still responsible for the dollar amount of the local share, which is 400, 460 maybe, something like that, plus or minus. As part of your local share.
Right, and
Yes.
we were that was going to be one of the items that we had to appropriate next year in the 2015 budget. Is that correct, Scott? Is there a reason why we should need to do that tonight? It's the only question.
Because the grant people asked him to have that
Okay.
specifically for points on his grant
I see.
application.
I think we should do it, Dave.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we,
You have to make a motion.
yeah, I move that we recognize that we are obligated to provide the local share of a grant request that we're making of OPWC for $237,000.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we need any corrections? Everything sound good?
Yes.
With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Is it okay, sir, I'll identify that with the PID number and all that in that motion? Is that what you'd like also?
Probably Scott can give it
Yes.
to you.
Yeah, no, I have all the numbers. I'm just asking, given the
Yes.
motion should, thank you.
All right, thanks, Scott. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to welcome Mr. Townsend to civil service and look forward to working with you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Very good. John?
We'll be glad to work with you, Louis. Known you for a little bit now, so. Also, we're gonna bring back the K-9 unit, as was mentioned, so Scott's gonna set up a fund if folks wanna donate to keep the program going. Probably take care of.
First merit.
Yeah, First Merit, and we'll be able to put some information on the website and Facebook. and we may be able to get a picture of the puppy we're looking at. So check Facebook, it may be on there.
Very good. All right, Nick.
Well, as Mike mentioned in his report, the road program bids are going to be accepted on Tuesday, September 2nd, 12 o'clock noon. That is one package with Airlane, Westwood, and the full depth repairs. So we'll analyze the bids as soon as they're received. We've got several contractors that are currently on our bid holders list that we're excited about. So hopefully the numbers come in well and we'll have a good report for you.
Hey Nick, can I make one quick request? The 33 roads we have rated in poor condition, can you give us somewhat of an idea in the next meeting of what you feel an average cost would be to repair those roads? And given the time in between, how many more will fall into the poor category?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Nick, Mo, you want to talk? Go right ahead.
With your permission?
Sure.
Still reporting on engineering, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to bring an issue that caught my attention specifically to the Lake Forest Estates and in general, and specifically for Councilwoman Dara's comments on your email Thursday, August 21st about GPD and their services. My personal opinion is I hate emails because sometimes they're misleading, and I'm here to address your questions to the property owner about GPD and their services. So I'm here at your disposal.
He was making comments about you guys, so I was just answering him.
And if you have, please feel free to call me. I'm at your disposal, at your service. I'm here to address all your questions, or whoever has questions about our services specifically. And that's why I'm here. I want to try to resolve them, face to face, because the emails sometimes
Well, you have to
can be
refresh me on the
misleading.
email.
Well, basically,
Did he, first of all, ask what he asked council?
I don't have his email. I
Okay,
have
that's probably
yours.
right. So why don't I get you his questions that he asked council, and then we can take it from there at the next meeting.
Sure.
I will make sure you get a copy of his email
Okay.
that he addressed to council.
Okay. And, in general, we'll address his concerns, but if you're talking about stormwater, I'm sorry.
No, go on.
If talking specifically for that property, I'm not, there's a lot of emails floating around.
And I believe I stated that GPD has several other employees that can go out to that property if he did not want Nick Feeney there.
I agree.
And
with
am
you.
I right? Do you not have other employees
You're
at GPD?
absolutely correct, but-
So that's what I was telling the gentleman. It does not have to necessarily be Nick Feeney. You have several other employees that you can send out there. If you're the engineer for our city, and if, I don't know if you're under contract, I'm not too sure. So I've asked that question for a couple years now, and nobody seems to give me an answer. So, okay, then I explained to the gentleman that there's other employees with GPD to go out and look at the property. That's what I told the gentleman, and I think it was very fair.
I agree with you,
Okay.
with your statement. The only issue that we're engineers, we're not attorneys.
Right.
And I refer the legality of this private issue to your law director, because I don't think we're allowed to be there, because it's a private civil matter.
Mhm.
And again, please, I'm not an attorney, I'm an engineer, so.
Well, I guess-
That whole issue, Mr. Deemer will be addressing the legality of
Right,
this
and
situation.
and from what I gather, the city went out with engineering and with the building department, and I didn't ask for the email from the resident, but if a resident does send me an email, I will answer that email. Okay, and as far as I'm concerned, you have other employees at GPD that if he did not want Mr. Feeney there, I believe that you can send somebody else out there under the mayor's request.
Well, when we're talking about this, it's so complex because we're talking about spending public dollars on private property. Actually, I brought some photographs I'm going to share with you. It seems we have a discrepancy in asking, their resident is asking us to dispose of the sand that's coming down the creek next to his house. One of the things that we decided to do is go up and follow the entire stream bed, and we found it completely sandstone that's eroded. The resident seems to think it's coming from a business that's located in Twinsburg Township. So they've done a lot of work. You can pass these pictures around. We would like to have, perhaps we need a motion, Nick, because right now, we're at the point where we're going to analyze the sand in the water to see if it comes from those rocks that are in the pictures that are being passed around. Just to have him go out there will cost what, Mike?
Well, I think the two lab tests were $2,500 apiece, and then I think it was $1,200 for the initial, so.
So what we were talking about was at least do the initial and get his feedback if he thinks that this is coming from the sandstone, and then we're done. There is a lot of options for that homeowner to pursue, according to Mr. Deemer, actually by going to the federal government and telling them that he's having this problem with erosion. There's been development upstream of him. Development causes more impervious surfaces, which are like this, and water doesn't go through them. Those surfaces cause more water to flow. More water erodes the stones even further. So this resident has not been neglected because we have a history on this going back a couple of years. And as you can see in those pictures, it's pretty evident. And we have also a drawing there where the pictures were taken upstream from him, that it's coming from erosion of sandstone. That's our belief. We would like council to give us the okay to go ahead with $1,200. Well, 4,000 or 5,000 to do the test, but to come out and make an assessment.
Do they do the test up there in Medina Supply as well, is what he's wanting, or?
No,
How does
they
that
do,
work?
they test the sand in the water and tell you if it's coming from those rocks you saw.
Right.
Hadn't we already resolved this problem? I thought this had come up years ago before Sylvia
It
and Rita
did.
were here, and I thought
Yeah.
it had been
It did,
resolved,
and
but
Medina Supply built that retention pond according to EPA requirements.
So
And Nick
Medina
wasn't
Supply,
involved.
Rita, did you hear that, has a retention pond?
Right, I know, I've been reading all the emails, I've seen it, so I
Okay,
mean.
so
but-
that was built because the city asked them to do that, and since they're in another
EPA
municipality.
actually,
Mr. Ladd,
EPA.
Mr. Ladd, did you promise this resident that you would get something tested when you guys went to go meet or something?
Jim and I did.
Okay, so that's where all this issue's coming from, and so I don't know,
The initial cost would be, to go out there for the field study and geotech report would be $1,200.
did you
And
tell
then-
him, did you tell the resident that yet?
No, we didn't tell.
Okay, well, I think maybe you should tell the resident that.
Well, wait, I thought you said you promised that you were
Yeah,
gonna
he
do that.
Yes, that's what they did, that's what according to what this gentleman
Yes,
said.
the only thing that we would have to come back for is if we decide to go to the petrographic analysis, which is a very detailed lab report, that's about $2,500 a piece for samples.
But I thought Mr. Deemer was suggesting that this is for on private property and we shouldn't be involved. Is that what you are not? I mean,
His
this is kinda getting all
recommendation
wrong.
is that the property owner reach out to the United States Department of Agriculture and ask for referral to surface water drainage attorneys. And those attorneys will go after the people upstream.
And we promised him before we got the interpretation from Mr. Deemer.
They, that's basically, as I understand the situation, and I've just been reading the emails like you have, that there was an agreement that we would address the issue. It sounds like there's one of two possibilities. One is the sandstone formations that are in Twinsburg Township, which are east of where they're located. And the other is whether Medina Supply has had some effect that hasn't been corrected by the detention pond. I would say this, we could be working with Twinsburg Township and looking at, if that's really the case, that it's the sandstone formations, a detention pond there might be a better choice, really. So I don't really see that we have a big conflict here. We talked to the resident. I wasn't there when you guys talked to the resident, but it's clear you offered to help him out. because there is a huge amount of sand coming through in these ditches. And as he pointed out in one of his many emails, there is an issue with, when we were planning to and approving Lake Forest Estates and how it was configured, we should have at least been aware that we had a huge sand problem that was continuing from Twinsburg Township, whatever the reason was.
Well, there's been property that's been built up since then. The situation has changed, and we actually sent our people out there because you had asked us to.
Right, well, actually, it was because there was, no, I didn't ask you, I did ask Mr. Kegler from Twinsburg Township to send somebody, and he did, to look at the whole situation. I
But
made a direct request.
The resident told me that you were involved and wanted us to
Do you
be
want to see his
there
email? I have
see
his
what it
email
was.
pulled up. Would you like to see my iPad?
He had already made the
Seriously.
arrangement directly with you all before he ever talked to me. So,
And the township superintendent basically responded.
that he thought
He thought it has nothing to do.
with the Medina supply issue. I know.
Medina Supply, EPA said Medina Supply has nothing to do with it.
Well, I know.
The township superintendent, in one of his emails, responded that the sedimentation is not coming from the township, from the industrial park. So it's kind of like, you know.
He said it wasn't
we're going
from
in a
the-
circle
yeah,
because
right.
it's not mine, it's not my problem, it's not my fault. So that is the confusion. And Nick really, I mean, it tried. He got the
Okay.
county engineers involved, he got Summit Soils involved, he brought EPA again to get involved. And one of the emails through the EPA gentleman that he thinks, one statement that he made the water sedimentation comment from the industrial park. But again,
Well,
it
here,
goes back to the law department.
Right, so
Well-
why are we doing it? It's always been the law that
well,
private issues are,
Private issues.
need to be handled by a private lawyer, so why are we doing this?
well, the question I have is, we're working with it. We've already promised something, and if we're not supposed to promise things, then we shouldn't be doing it. But I'm telling you that when I talked to this gentleman, it was after he had already arranged for you folks to come out and look at the area.
No, he invited us out, and then
And he
the city
invited us to
came-
look
the
at it
city
too,
came
so
out
that I could see
afterwards.
it. And it is, one thing is very clear, there is a boatload of sand coming down when there are storms. And Mr. Kegler didn't think it was from Medina Supply, but he didn't say that it didn't come from Twinsburg Township. He said it didn't come from the Medina Supply Company, which I have no idea whether he's right or wrong. But that seems to be the general opinion after people have gone out there. And I think if this thing is something that should have been looked at when we originally did the plans through Planning Commission for something as large as Lake Forest Estates, then we should be looking at it to figure out why that is continuing to happen, my opinion only.
Well,
I
when this,
understand it, but I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that we didn't do our due diligence when the development was built.
I don't know that there is or isn't.
Well, until there is some issue that says we didn't do what was right when we developed it, when it was developed, then, I think people who live by creeks have issues with sediment. Maybe that's because I grew up by a creek, because there was always sediment in the
does this
creek.
occur
Well,
in
this
our
is not
right
just
away,
sediment.
our city right away?
Well, it's sand.
Is this,
It's all private property.
so everything, the problems are all derivative on private property, it's not in any city right away?
No.
No,
I mean, we always try to help, and I know there's a lot of shooting from the hip here, but Dave may remember, because I think this went back many years ago. This problem has gone on, it kind of went away, and now it's back
Right.
again, but I remember,
Because EPA went to Medina Supply and made them take corrective measures.
Right.
And they built the
Right.
retention pond. That's
And-
back in 2007.
right.
Yes, sediment pond. So, and then EPA went back again, 11, and they looked at it and said, well,
Well, that,
the pond
they,
is doing
yes,
what's
right.
supposed to do.
so essentially what's happening here is we need to determine with the legal department what we're gonna do going forward, because I think there's a lot of chatter here that is not relevant. If it's a problem that the city can help and deal with, obviously we want to do that. We're always
Right.
going to help our residents. But as the mayor alluded to, we don't spend public dollars on private property. We need to be real careful here with where we're going. I understand there may be some statements made that may have been misinterpreted or misstated, but I always know every dealing I've had with Nick, Mike, and Mo have been nothing less than professional. So I think that they would be extremely cautious, and before we start firing bullets here, stop right now, because I know you're already fired up for it. Give these guys a chance to work it all out before we keep going.
I'm not firing
Yeah,
any
nobody's
bullets, Nick,
firing
in the
up.
first place.
See, you'd already
I'm
done
not
it.
firing
Don't raise your
bullets.
voice to me,
I'm
please.
simply stating an opinion, and that's what I'm doing. And I have
Well,
every
your
right
opinion's no good,
to
so
have an
move on.
opinion just like you do.
Excuse me, Nick, that's inappropriate, you know that? You should not say
Well,
that to her.
don't shout at me, and I won't tell you.
Nobody's shouting at you, Nick. That
I
was
didn't raise my voice
inappropriate
to
to talk
any
to
As
somebody.
usual.
Okay, let's bring it back under control. All right, thank you very much for your input, Mo. We appreciate it.
Mo, I
We'll-
would like to show you the email after council, okay? Because you have a right to see what this gentleman wrote, and I'm not gonna read it because it's insulting to you, to your company, all right?
I mean, that's his opinion.
I understand.
I'm here at your disposal.
I understand, but I
serve-
answered him
I
to the
serve
best of my
city.
ability,
I
okay?
serve the city.
All right, so I serve the city too. And I tried to fix the problem very nicely.
And I see that.
Okay?
And I noticed.
I was
that
very,
in your
very
emails
nice.
you tried to take care of it.
And
No
so,
problem. Sure.
in fairness to me, you should have addressed that to me on a private matter like that. You should have came to me after council, and I would have been gladly to address it, but not to come up here.
You
So-
saw the amount of emails going on. I would like to bring it out to the
Okay, there's a
public.
lot of emails, but why is my name, my only email dragged into it, okay? So I have issues with that, when you
All
haven't
right.
even seen his.
Do we have, thank you, Mo, any other business this evening? Any new business?
Motion to adjourn.
We have motion to
Wait, wait.
adjourn.
Folks, I have some new business, and then we can go. I just want to make the public aware that we have exceeded $100,000 in costs in that Farnhurst lawsuit. I just did the final calculations this afternoon, and I just want you to be aware that these costs are continuing and will continue until something is done. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
We're adjourned. Thanks for coming.